Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 in, oh my god, I forget the name of the book that we're reading. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to reading 2K to 10K by Rachel Aaron. This is episode 3, and today we're actually going to be covering part 2 of the book. We'll see how far we get. Let's go. You gonna get in the way of this video? Are you gonna get in the way of this video? Yeah, I bet you are. Oh. Yeah, I bet you are. Wait, that's my journal. I actually have to use that. So I just finished the first chapter in part 2, where Rachel Aaron is talking about plotting a novel in 5 easy steps. The steps that I thought that she was going over actually are like the precursor steps. So I was a little confused because she got up to step 4 and then listed can versus should, aka should you write this book? Just because you can write this book doesn't mean that you should write this book depending on the level of interest in the book. I was confused. Chapter 1 she labels primordial ooze. And she goes from step 0 to step 4. So step 0 is decide what book to write. I've done that. Step 1, write it if you can't stop thinking about your book idea. Step 2, if it writes itself, if you're already composing scenes in your head, if you're already thinking about the scenes that you're going to include. Step 3, see finished project. If you see roughly what'll it be when it's done. I'm like pointing at my notebook if you didn't know. Envision the ending in your head. Step 4, if you can easily explain why others want to read it. And she thinks that those reasons can be as simple as really fun or it's so epic. So I think I've already done all these steps for my new project, at least the fantasy one. We will get to the contemporary one soon, I hope. But at least for the fantasy one, especially when I did the Save the Cat beat sheet, I think it pretty much narrowed down all these reasons why I want to write it, why I should write it, and Rachel Aaron also gets into the can versus should. She talks about having lots and lots of stalled books on her computer, that her writing time is precious, and even though she has those books and she knows that she'll never get paid for those, she still thinks that they're valuable because now she can more easily recognize when her interest stalls about 30K in or however many words in. So I guess in actual step 1, we're going to talk about keeping that interest throughout the book. Let's go. step 1. And Rachel Aaron is pretty much talking about the research, the basics, getting down what you already know about the story. She writes, put everything down that you already know about the story, create a basic framework, and from that, figure out which holes you have to fill in throughout the story. She talks about putting down just the rough ideas to generate excitement that you generated in your head while you were super, super excited. This can be the shortest or longest step depending on your world building, on your characters, on your setting. And then she also goes into Scrivener. So I think it's time, if I'm going to be following along with Rachel Aaron, I think it's time to make a Scrivener document for this project. Let's go. Opening up Scrivener. Oh no, it's my face. Ta-da! File, new project. Fiction. Novel. I don't know why I'm singing this, but hey, let's do it. Untitled. I'm just gonna name it the title that I have on the Word document. Girls. Boom. It's loading. Okay. Let's do this. Opening up my document. Okay. So I just did all the work to separate all my ideas into Scrivener, my chapters into Scrivener. I've never done this so early before. I always sort everything and put it all into Scrivener after I've finished the whole project, which is typically for NaNoWriMo. So yeah, this is all new. I hope that more of what Rachel Aaron is talking about in these next steps can easily apply to this document that I've created. It is much better visually now because in Word I had everything lumped together. I had all my ideas. I had all my different names that ended up being different from what I'm writing now, and it was just all really, really jumbled together. So I do appreciate the separation of ideas. I don't know what this is. The readability of all my ideas. Now I'm doing crab hands. Okay, let's move on to step 2. As you can see here, I put all the folders and research that I want so far. I have the characters. I moved the template for a character sketch there. Setting sketch, and then cut sections. So let's go. I seem to be saying that a lot in this video. Oh well. did a lot of brainstorming for the names and the world for the world building of my story. And gotta say, Rachel Aaron is right. This is super, super fun. I I don't think I was expecting how fun it would be. She talks about writing the names, motivations, and then how the character relates to the story, separating your characters into main characters, antagonists, power players. For the main characters, it's like 2 to 4. For antagonists, it's 1 to 2, and for the power players, it's as many as you want, like Gandalf or Dumbledore or the elves, I guess. I don't know. I went through and generated a lot of names, and I also generated a lot of their motivations, especially for the antagonists, which I hadn't figured out yet, and that was really, really cool to brainstorm. So yes, Rachel Aaron, I am excited. I am super, super excited to keep on doing this. So from characters, she says to move on to figuring out the ending and the beginning in that order. And since I have the beginning already, I think the next step is just to find out the ending. She also makes a note of figuring out if it's going to be a series or a standalone. I'm planning for this to be a standalone. She says to figure out and make sure the ending resolves everything, if that's the case. And also just to figure out what kind of story is this. I'm thinking adventure. I'm like 99% sure it's an adventure, because what else could it be? Like fairies? Quest? You know? It's an adventure. It's an adventure. Look at all this world building. So I just wrote down all my notes for steps 3 and 4 for 2K to 10K, and oh man, is there a lot to do. Yikes. So I gotta preface this by saying that this is like the most work that I would do at once before writing a story. A lot of this work that Rachel Aaron is talking about usually comes in the middle when I'm writing the story, when I'm stuck. And I get what she's saying. I completely get what she's saying, to eliminate those stuck days, to eliminate those where you're not doing anything, where you're not writing, where you're not world building, by just doing it all at the beginning. But, hoo boy, for somebody who's never done this before, all at once, yikes. So step 3 covers filling in the plot holes, where she talks about filling in the plot first. Look at your ending and beginning. Look at your beginning and your character motivations to ask what comes next. Discover why things aren't working. Ask the question, how did this happen, for figuring out which scenes you're going to write. And she also likes to say that there is no such thing as an unfixable plot. If you're stuck, it's because you didn't know something. This is the point where she writes out a detailed world history. She spends time with her characters to figure out what they're thinking, to figure out what's going on in the world at her stuck moment, to map out what the villains are doing. She also makes a note of how world building can be taken too far. She gives the example of making up the history of thousands and thousands and thousands of years before her story actually starts. That doesn't have anything to do with the story. Completely agree. I'm wary of that. From there, she goes on to step 4, which is building the foundation of her book. By this point, she's figured out her whole plot, her tangible feel of the book, her character voice. In this step, she makes a timeline, she draws a map, what is this? She writes down the events of the novel and the important history bits that go along with it. She writes down the important place descriptions for her map. She also writes down who knows what when to track the flow of information as it spreads throughout her book. She double checks on the plot here just to make sure everything is as it should be. And then the last thing that she does is write down everyone's particulars. So she writes down name spellings, physical descriptions, important places, organizations. And then she writes out a scene list where she writes down like the chapter and then the scenes in each chapter. She also makes a note that chapter breaks should increase tension, should increase the dramatic tension. And she also does a boredom check for all these chapters and scenes to search for slow spots, lag, and if she doesn't visualize anything as it's happening, then she cuts it too. She also makes a note that cutting out scenes of a finished plot can feel really, really scary, but it's all part of the be excited about everything that you're writing. This is exciting. It's also very daunting because I've never immediately gone as in-depth as Rachel Aaron is doing into a project before, at the beginning at least. Like, in my style of writing, I'd say that everything comes organically as I'm writing, that it usually just springs up as I'm writing. I really want to do this. I also think that I'll make my own world building a whole separate video too. I think that I could honestly break down steps 3 and 4 here into a whole entire video. I have gone ahead and jumped the gun a little bit because I did start writing chapter 1 and 2 at least, and I already marked down what's hopefully going to happen in the next few chapters. I think I'm going to do all this world building before I jump into writing the actual story again, which is again so new, so foreign to me. Erin's last step is of course to start writing. At this point, she says she's usually chomping at the bit to get writing. She knows her world, character's voice, knows exactly what's going to happen and why. All she has to do is sit down and let the words out. And she says that this is the mindset that gets 10,000 words a day. Whew. For me, part of the fun is the world building along the way, figuring out my character's motivations. This is planner to the max, I gotta say. This is planning down the minutiae, the details, etc., everything to the exact fine detail. And it's very daunting, I gotta say, and it's scary, but also it's exciting too. After listing out all these steps, these 5 steps, that are all very, very long. She calls them basic, but oh man, is there a lot of info and steps packed inside these steps. Whew. But Rachel Aaron ends the book, or ends this part, on writing is not a performance art, so don't be afraid to let everything be a total broken mess for a while, if that's what it takes to get your story right. That, I think, right there is keeping the magic of writing alive for me, keeping the magic of getting the ideas throughout the story, throughout writing, giving myself room to let go, and giving myself room to still come up with different scenes, still come up with different plots, still come up with different complete directions that the story might go to, while I'm writing. And for me, that's the exciting bit. That's what I hope will make me get to 10K words a day. Thank you, Rachel Aaron, for this book, for this lots and lots of information. I'm looking forward to trying out all the world building steps, all the specific steps in the next video. This series will probably be a little bit longer due to that, but hey, it's okay. I'm actually really, really excited for this story that I'm writing too. For a story that was born out of, oh man, I want to write this story because I saw something on Netflix and I think that I can make it better. I'm excited, and I'm excited about my direction. I'm excited about Rachel Aaron's steps. I'm pointing to the Kindle, if you didn't know. And I'm excited to get going, so thanks everybody for watching. Was that like a nervous swallow? Did you see how fearful I was right there? I'm scared of world building. Save me. But thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of world building, how you handle world building, how you manage plotting before you even start your book. Do you just go from save the cat, or do you do all these extra steps? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and comment down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye everybody!